talk to the user and come up with some kind of a workflow, of a structure that will really be helpful. Usually they will sort of iterate, they will talk to user, the tool is made to change quickly things, and you can go on, do a pilot, and change things again. And again, I'll show you that our goal is not to, to give more flexibility in the hands of the designer, so he can do as much as he can, so change things if they're needed, and eventually you go on in production, and maybe you will make some adjustment over there. So this is an example that of a portfolio, an assessment portfolio. So the top part is usually you ask the student to submit some kind of evidence. It could be a file, a video, whatever. And then the bottom part is where sometimes you ask the student to reflect on what he did. What did he learn? These are, you can ask specific questions. You can help the student to sort of reflect on this. So this is part of the workflow, helping students to do better. And then there's a tutor or an evaluator that will come up and assess the student work using a rubric. In some cases, for example, you can add some kind of peer assessment. So you can have your colleagues comment on what you've been doing. So you see, this is a simple workflow, but it could be different for different schools. It can be richer. It depends. And what's interesting also is that sometimes you want a kind of summary vision of what the student has accomplished over the years, and the colors are there just to see that red is something that I should improve, green is okay, and yellow is maybe I should work on. So this is really a quick overview of portfolio. So in our case, this is a little bit of, Olivier is going to come back to that, is that we organize things in a very specific fashion. So I will take the book analogy. So a portfolio for us will be a book. And we have what we call structure. Structure are, let's say, chapters of a book. And then we have what we call units, which will be pages. Let's see. And within a page, you can have like unit structure, which are like sections. So it's an organizing principle that has been really useful for us. So the book, the chapter, the page, and the section. So I'm going to walk you through we're going to quickly, in 30 seconds, build a small portfolio. So, okay, this is the login of Karuta. These are the portfolio that I'm currently working on. I can create a portfolio. I'm going to call it Karuta Miami. And this is the difference with all the other tools. Whoops. I'm sorry. I didn't screw the thing in so it's just dropped down. Thanks for okay. I missed the and I have the problem of yesterday. How did we resolve the problem of yesterday? If someone is good at thanks. Or if we start over maybe. This is what we did yesterday. We started over yesterday. Because it has two screens. Yeah, I think it should be okay. Oh, you say myself. Okay, I'm not going to touch anything now. I'm sorry about the. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, this is the big difference. So when you, as a designer, you're going to have a blank page like this. So you really have to start from scratch and build the portfolio you need. So again, I'm going to quickly walk through, like, if I want to create a structure, I'm going to, click on menu and add a structure. So I'm adding a structure, and then I'm going to add a unit, and I'm just quickly adding a unit. You see unit 1, and I can add a unit structure, and this is the way it goes. So you can sort of build the structure of your portfolio, name it, and eventually go through the organization that you want. The next step now is to put resources within a unit or a unit structure. Then you have a choice of all sorts of resources, and this can be expanded. You can have text, document, URL, video, images, and also in the back, the bottom, you can have like special resources I'm going to talk about. Okay, so suppose we have this this example here. I'm going to talk. So I put different resources in the page. Doesn't matter if they're like general. I mean, it could be anything. What's interesting is that every resource, if you click on the pencil, you will have a set of metadata for each resource. And in this case, well, there's a label. That's the name of the resource, resource number 3. But then you can have like what we call semantic tags. So this is the way you can identify this resource for use later in your portfolio. And also, what's interesting is that you can also put roles, and you can say, for example, in my case, that the tutor will be able to edit this resource or maybe delete it. So this is the example where the tutor will choose a rubric to evaluate the student. And this, you remember the sort of summary page that I showed you before? Using the semantic tag, you can create this summary page because you can go and get the information that has been tagged in the portfolio to sort of recreate by JavaScript quite easily that kind of summary table. This is a larger view of the metadata. I'm not going to have time to go through. Those of you who went to the workshop, you worked with these. Again, I can put different roles in these elements. I'm going to talk about search and menus. So these are the advanced resources that are really powerful in Karuta. So they're called item, get resource, proxy, and menu. They're part of the, so you can add them on a page and they do really special things. First, what we call item. If I want to do a rubric is a sort of criteria for evaluating student work. So here there is a new portfolio that I call, Karuta rubrics. So I created, in Karuta, everything is a portfolio, but of course, not everything is a portfolio. So it is possible to create like portfolio their role is only to hold information that you're going to reuse later on elsewhere. So if I create this Karuta rubric portfolio and I put in this portfolio, these are items. There are 4 items, and if I tag them, you'll see there, and I put, for example, rubric A as a tag. So if I come back here to a resource that I've sort of presented before, but we didn't have time to discuss. This is the get resource resource. So this is a special resource that permits, for example, a tutor to use a rubric to evaluate student work. So how you can do that? Well, first, this is what the tutor is going to choose. It's exactly the information that was before in the slide before. This was part of the rubric portfolio that we created before. And the only thing that we have to do when we create this special resource to go and get information elsewhere is to specify in the bottom. In the search, in the metadata, there's a search box, and you say, okay, go in Karuta rubrics, go and get rubric A label. So what it does is that this get resource will go and get the information and present the rubrics to the tutor or the evaluator. What's great is that you don't need any developer to do that. The designer can by himself create all the science portfolio that he wants, and build these rubric quite easily. So this is the trust of Karuta. Another example, which is quite interesting also, is Proxy. Proxy is sometimes you want to do summary pages. For example, suppose I want to go and bring on one page information that are displayed in other pages of the portfolio. Sometimes it's quite useful to sort of organize things. How do you do that? Well, you're going to use semantic tag, and you're going to use what we call the proxy resource. So the proxy resource, what it does is that by putting the box, the red box is the resource that I created. This is the proxy resource, and it's going to go and get in other part of the portfolio the information. It's going to display it just underneath. So all you have to do is in this proxy resource, in the metadata search, you put Karuta portfolio. This is where the information is. Evaluation content. This is a semantic tag associated with the information you want to get. It could be a small piece or a large piece, and then label. So what Proxy does is going to go and search in the portfolio, get the information, and display that there. So again, it's quite powerful because you can, it gives flexibility to the designer to sort of arrange, all sorts of summary table that kind of be really useful for students again, or for tutors. And finally, menu is that if you want to copy in your portfolio parts of other portfolio, if you want to streamline the work, again, for example, if I take this portfolio called Karuta Parts on the left-hand side, this is the name of the portfolio. I tag this page, this is a unit, I tag it with a semantic tag evaluation page. So if I go on some other page and I want to bring all the unit, all the information that was displayed before within this portfolio, easy. I can, for example, add a metadata that says on the there's a box called menu. This is an option. You can put Karuta parts, evaluation page, add the page, and then the role. So if you suppose that this is for the designer, so the designer can use the menu up there and add a page. So this is very useful, for example, if you have like 12 learning outcomes, all the pages are the same, and you want to streamline your work, you want to create quickly all these pages, so you just have to create a menu and then bring, and what it does is copy the information that was elsewhere in this portfolio. So that's all. I mean, I went really quickly, but I guess it gives you some kind of information about the possibility of Karuta. Well, the technology, and then we're going to move to something more technical. Well, it's as you can see, it's jQuery, JavaScript, it's REST APIs. We have a responsive design approach. We took great care with the group role permission that Olivier is going to explain. It's LMS LTI right now, 1, and it's almost Leap 2A. I think I'm going to skip the additional features. You can quickly glance through it. I'm not going to repeat that, but there are many possibilities, and we're working to add new ones. So I guess we're going to move on to the more technical aspects, so we can have some time at the end for questions. And this is yours. Don't trip on this because it's a problem.
Okay, so I will speak about the architecture, how we built our system. First one, the general architecture, there is 2 parts, the client part and the backend. Also, the client, all the application is in the client. The backend is only to store and to retrieve and send to the client information. So in the browser, you have two layers: the application layer specific to the institution, what we call Karuta Core, that we'll discuss with the backend. And we use Ajax and web services on the backend. The backend is written in all in Java, and we use currently MySQL, but also we have an implementation for Oracle. And we develop a separate files server. So, how is organized portfolio? It's a tree structure. Here we can see on the left, it's a tree, and the presentation, as Jacques said, is like pages, as you see on the right. I will go in detail on the model we use. Sometimes we ask us, what is the model of Karuta? There is no model of Karuta. Because what we have, it's 6 kind of objects in your structure. What we call root, so it's the head of the tree. Then structure that organize unit or resources. And you have the unit that corresponds to a page, and with the structure like section. And at the bottom, we have what we call context and resource. Because all resource that appears in the page, there is a context, I can say that, just in front of the resource where we have all the security. So to go to access a resource, you have to go through what we call ISM context, where the security is. Also, you can put some information. Maybe sometimes you use a document in one portfolio, the same document, and another portfolio, but you don't want to say the same thing about this document. So you can put information at the context level. Now, how we display this tree using pages. So when we have a standard display that is built in Karuta, and we display 2 levels. So, for example, this one we have root and structure and maybe some resource inside. We can have a page with structure and unit, another one, and at the bottom, page with all the information inside. Now I will go in detail for one of this node on the left, except the last one. So in a tree, we have node and list. Not a surprise. To each node, like ISM root, structure, unit structure, context, you have 2 resources. One is called node resource, when you have the code and the label of the node, and one is called context, where you can put some text, contextual to this node. When it is a node, the children are other nodes, so you can go down in the tree. When you have a bottom, the children is a resource. So now I will explain how in the client the code is organized. We use a lot of external libraries like jQuery, Bootstrap, and Picker, JPlayer, Lightbox, HTML5, and so on. And we add the code to the code of Karuta with CSS, HTML page, images, and the JavaScript. JavaScript is a language because it's multilingual, so there is one file for each language. We have model model where there is only three types: portfolio, user, and node, and resources. And resources, I will explain you how we can add resources. So how it works? It's very simple. You have the web browser that using Ajax as portfolio to the backend. In the backend, the tree is not stored as an XML file. It is split into nodes. So we use database, MySQL, a relational database with node, and you have one node and a place for the children, and so on. So the tree is split in nodes. So when you ask to get portfolio, the backend will bring the XML file of all the information of the portfolio. Then we arrive in the browser, so there is an XML parsing that is done automatically by jQuery. jQuery parses automatically the XML. Each node of the tree is identified by that UUID. Okay? When the XML has been parsed by jQuery, the application creates for each node two JavaScript objects. One is called a tree object to navigate in the structure of the portfolio, and another object that is responsible to manage display the node. Okay, so when we go down in the tree, for each one we have two kinds of objects. Here it's the image of the XML graph. On the top right, you have the XML parsed by the representation of the XML parsed by jQuery. And we create two indexes to this object, one with structure, so it's an array that where we have the UID that go to the user interface object. And another one where you have the representation of the tree. Not the XML tree, but the portfolio tree with at the top root, structure, and so on, because there is a lot more node in XML than root. And we use this structure. It's very simple. The tree just two things: a pointer to the node in the XML and the list of children in the node. But the other one is maybe more complex. The interface, the object interface for each node, because we have to manage many languages. So we can, I don't really know the code, but we have to manage the language. We have maybe at the bottom you can see if the node is a leaf, we have to manage the resource that is the child of the node. Now, when the user modifies node, like we have seen with console, modified node, the XML node is updated, and then the put is sent to the backend to update the data in the backend, and the client refreshes all representation of the node in the interface. I will show you later with an example of a resource, but when we display a resource on the screen, we store the place. So if the user changes the value, it will be reflected in all the place the resource has been displayed. If you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask questions. Now I will show you. Jack explained that how to build portfolio, we always copy information from one portfolio, one tree, to another one. Okay, it's a principle. So to put something in a portfolio, it has to be before another portfolio. So how we start the system, we start with an XML file that describes all the results. And at this time, we have, I will show you, we have a file that describes what is a unit structure, what is a root, what is a unit structure, a unit, and so on. And when you want to create one, we take this XML and we copy in the new one. Okay? So it's very easy. If you want to add a new type of resource, what you have to do, you have to give first the XML representation of the resource. Here I give you the example of what we call field. Field is like a form when you say give your last name and you have something field. Just it's not a text field. So here is a description, the XML description of what a field is in XML. So you define a context, the metadata, you can initialize metadata, and you will see. Yes. So here you have the metadata linked to the context. Here you have the resource, the code, the ladder of the node, and here is the resource. Real resources here. So a field is very simple. There is just text with different language. Okay. Here there is no language. This is the definition of. Then you have to provide also JavaScript file with all the functions on this resource. So you have to provide a function to create the object. You have a function to return to get the view of the object, how to present it on the screen to the user. One to present how to edit this resource. So, one to update the resource. So a function that when the user changes anything will update the XML, and then the XML will be saved to the backend. One function to save and one function to refresh. I will detail each one, it's very simple. Here's the example for the create function. So when the browser arrives on a field, it will create this user interface object as before. So there is some attribute, the ID, so this is the UUID. The second line is a pointer to the node, to the XML. We define, the type is field. There is a lot of metadata, so here we want to know if this resource is multilingual or not. Because sometimes for one resource in different languages not the same resource. Then we have an array to store where the object will be displayed on the screen. Another one is the text. In this we have seen that text field is just like a form, but with different language. So the line from this text node at the bottom is to retrieve all the information or to create new information. If language is not defined, we define it at the bottom. Now you have to provide a function to display on the screen the information. So here, as it is multilingual, we have always to say which language we are currently. So you have to pass In this case, you pass the destination, so you pass the ID where you want to display this information. You give the code of the current language. And if you look, if this is different of null, what is it? It's just to remember where we display this resource. And the last line is just to return the text, so the value of this resource. To get editor, the same thing, we build the input, the HTML we have to display, and we send back, and this will be sent back to the browser. But inside the browser, the object will be returned to the display. You have to update, so you retrieve the value, and you update the XML, and you call save. And save, it's very simple. You just say update the node, and you say refresh everywhere where it's been displayed. And we want to refresh. We look at all the destinations where the resource is displayed, and we say, OK, replace them. So, just a few words about security. It's very important in this context. So we have 5 concepts: the user, what we call role rights. So we have a role and rights attached to this role. The notion of group, account, and portfolio. Here is a model. So you have the user, defined by username, last name, first name, there. You have at the bottom a portfolio. Attached to a portfolio, you can have multiple groups. And one group is linked to one role. So if you have the role student, you have a group student, a role student with the right associated to the role student. And then you put the user inside the group, what we call account. So when you put someone in the group, he has the role and the right and the associated right on the portfolio. So here an example. You have the user 1, that is a tutor. We have portfolio 1 at the top, portfolio bottom, for portfolio 2 at the left bottom. Portfolio 2, we have 2 groups associated to this portfolio. One for students, another one for tutors. When you put user 1 in the group tutors, it has the role tutors on portfolio 2. It's the same user you put in the group student of portfolio 1, and he has the role student in the portfolio 1. So one person may have multiple roles in different portfolio. One person must have different roles in the same portfolio, but it's maybe a strange process to define. So how we do that? Now we have the concept. Imagine we have a portfolio with 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes. On each node, we specify this node. Everybody can see this node. For other one, maybe we say this node can be edited by the student, the other one by the tutor. So I give you here an example. So the designer defines all these roles, as Jack has shown you. And then we have what we call the model. The designer builds the model, and then we have to instantiate it for each student. So we make copy, like a copy, but more than a copy, because when we instantiate, we create all the group we have seen before. So when the designer built this portfolio, there is no group associated to the portfolio. But when we create an instance for a student, we create also groups. So for example, suppose the group all read 1, 2, 3, so everybody has the right to read 1, 2, 3. The student can edit the node 3, the tutor can read 4 and write 4. So, and you can see if you are everybody or student, you cannot read. And so you cannot see the node 4. Then for all groups, for all role-wise groups, we assign groups, so we build groups. And then we put people inside. So we are in this situation. So everybody can read 1, 2, 3, student edit 3, read 4, write 4 for the tutor. And what we have is what we call dynamic write. So we can change it. It can be seen like a workflow in the sense that first, for example, the student node 3 was a document, so the student upload a document and he submit it. What does it mean? It means he cannot more edit or write this one. So on submission, his role edit 3 will be removed. So he cannot anymore edit. And after that, the tutor comes at the portfolio and he can see the node 4, that is the evaluation. He does his evaluation and he submits. So in this case, we will remove his write on the node 4 and we give the right read to the student. So now the student can see the evaluation of the tutor. So here for instantiation, there is two concepts very important and very useful. What we call shared node resource and shared resource. Here is an example of a portfolio. So we have the root, node wise, and here we have some information. If you look here, it's a leaf. We say that the shared node resource is yes. So what we want to say is that this node will be shared. This node, no. If you look here, the designer says that shared node resource yes, so this node will be shared. And shared resource yes, this resource will be shared. What does it mean? That when we instantiate this portfolio, we create a new one, but when the object is shared, we don't create a new one, don't create a copy, we use the same. But here, these two nodes share the same node resource. So the same code, the same label, and here, these two nodes share the same resource. Why do that? Because if you want to change the label here, even if you have hundreds of portfolios, it will be changed everywhere. The same for the resource. We have one resource here, you duplicate portfolio, but provide the same resource. So, to conclude, just 2 3 slides about API, just to give you information. For example, something is log, you want to know who, the browser want to know who is the user of this log. You get a get credential and you get all the information about this user. Here, at the beginning, when I start with how it works, I say that the browser sends the get to the backend, and the backend sends it back an XML file portfolio. This is an example of a portfolio. So we can see that every node has a UUID, and all the information is here. To update a resource, we send the XML. In the backend, the XML is stored as you can see it. There is no transformation. The XML is stored as a string and retrieved as a string and sent back as a string. Okay, so no transformation. Just an example how just say we put some semantic tag on node and we can retrieve all the nodes that has a semantic tag. So you have API to do that. In this case, we say retrieve nodes in the portfolio ppn _GA and with semantic tag activity. So it goes through the portfolio ppn and retrieve all about the semantic tag activity and it returns back to the browser. So maybe like
quickly.
we can conclude.
Yeah, well, we're almost we're passing a couple of minutes. It's because of the problem we have, but it's not always our fault. Yeah, roadmap. Well, we're part of the incubation project, so we're going to work on the UI, work on scalability, because this is a big issue. I mean, it's important, and I mean, this is something that is really top of our list. We're going to work on admin tools. We have pretty much a good set of admin tools, but we're going to improve on them. And again, we should have what we call Karuta 1.0 by September. And if those of you who are interested to do a pilot, that'd be possible to do that. But right now, the tool is available, but it's for a designer to play around and to get used to it. And of course, we're looking for pilot and we're looking for contributors. And we really welcome your question. I don't know if we'll have time for questions, maybe, or I mean, we'll stay around. So I don't know if is there a question or.
Announce it on the 9 o'clock on Thursday in the tenor room.
Yes, good point. I forgot. Thanks, Janice. If those of you are interested for discussing or maybe adopting or contributing, or we have a room. It will be on the room on Thursday from 9 to 11. And what's the room? Tenor. The tenor room. T-E-N-O-R. T-E-N-O-R. And we really welcome your visit, and we're looking forward to discuss with you. So thanks again for your time. But again, we'll be around if you have like specialized questions, and we'll see you around in the meetings anyhow. So thanks again.